Testing. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2. Ronnie Smith, Little Rock Police Department. Today's date is 5/8/93. The time is 18:03 hours. I'm at the Little Rock Police Department with Ken Govar, white male, lives at 6608 Carolina, Little Rock. Telephone number 562-2115. Work number 223-3111. Okay, Mr. Govar, the reason we're here this afternoon is to take a tape statement in reference to a possible murder suspect, a homicide that occurred in West Memphis a couple of days ago, where I believe 3 8-year-old boys were found murdered. And I believe you may have picked up a hitchhiker that fits that possible description. And when did you pick him up?
I left Little Rock about 1:30 Wednesday afternoon, and I picked this hitchhiker up. I was in a blue Dodge Ram Charger pickup, and I picked him up on the freeway somewhere in the Carlisle, Hazen area, but he was not at an exit. He was out in the middle of nowhere on the freeway.
That was on I-40 now?
On I-40. He made a statement to me. I asked him what he was doing out there, and he said that he was riding with some other people, and he got out, let him out of the car because they had stole some gas at the last exit, and he was afraid they were going to all get busted because these guys were messing with drugs and they were drunk too. And so he said he'd had enough and he wanted out of the car. And he was extremely angry when he got in the car with me, and told me that, I asked him where he was from, where was he going. He said he was from Knoxville, Tennessee, and that he was attempting to get back to Knoxville. He'd gone broke in Little Rock trying to get tree trimming work.
Did he say where he'd worked here in Little Rock?
He said he couldn't find any work, but he had tried. I asked him, did you try West Tree Service and some of those, because they're always hiring tree trimmers. And he said that he'd called, but he didn't get a job. And so he'd gone broke, and he was going to hitchhike back to Knoxville. And I mentioned to him that I had worked at Knoxville not long ago, and I had worked at the Toyota plant. And he said, yeah, that's there in Knoxville, but it's not in Knoxville. The Camry plant's in Lexington, Kentucky. So I didn't think at that time he really was from Knoxville, was my impression. He told me, though, he was a tree trimmer. He didn't give him the appearance of being an outdoor worker, though. He wasn't real darkly tanned or anything. He was light complected. He was thin, about 6'8" to 6'10", 5'8" to 5'10", excuse me. He wasn't quite 6 foot. He was very thin. He had reddish blonde hair.
How much
more
red?
Weighed? I'd say probably, I couldn't guess weight, but he was very thin. Let's put it that way. He was really thin and wiry. Cheekbones protruding and chin bones, He was on the thin side of thin.
But how old was he?
I'd say 26 to 28 years old, white male, light complected, some freckles. He had long hair in the back that came down about halfway down his neck, and he had bushy sideburns that came down well below his ears. And I noticed a lot about the length of sideburns. They were real bushy and they were red.
But his hair was blonde?
His hair was a blondish red. It wasn't a dark red, kind of a carrot red. And his eyebrows were red too. And he had a stubble beard growth of a couple of days maybe. He was carrying a pillowcase stuffed about 3/4 full, and it just had it wound up like a knapsack. And it was obviously a pillowcase. It was white and it had the pattern, little colored flowers in 2 bands on it.
The pillowcase itself was white though?
Yeah.
What color were the designs?
The designs were green and yellow and red. They had little flowers in 2 rows, like a cheap pillowcase would look.
Can you tell what he had in it?
I couldn't tell what he had in it. No, he had some stuff that was pretty heavy in it, but I couldn't tell what it was.
Let me ask you, get back to his hair. Was his hair lighter or darker than his sideburns?
Hair was a little bit darker than the sideburns. Sideburns were a little darker, than the hair. But he had a baseball cap on.
What color was his baseball cap?
I think it was blue.
Blue. You know if it had a design on it?
I think it was a Cubs cap. I think it had a C on it, but I couldn't swear to that. I didn't notice the cap. I noticed these damn tattoos that he had.
Okay, describe his tattoos too.
Well, on the right inside forearm, he had a 2-inch by 2-inch tattoo of a bone, just a bone, and it was flesh colored, and it had red blood in the background, like splattered blood, and it was a square tattoo, but this was not black and white or gray like you said tattoo. This was red. The red stood out, bright red. It wasn't a blood red; it was a bright red, and the bone was flesh colored, just a single bone at an angle.
And that was on his right inside forearm.
Now, ain't that a weird tattoo? That's what I thought.
Yeah, sounds weird.
Kind of sick. And then on the other arm, on the forearm of his left arm, he had a 6 to 8 inch tattoo of a devil sitting on its haunches with three claws up on his hands, and the face looked like kind of dinosaur sitting there on his haunches with these 3 claws up like this, but he had the face of a traditional devil, like you would draw a devil with a pointed chin and the horns and everything. That's what the face of the thing. But it was a terribly terrifying tattoo. I mean, when you looked at it, you were terrified. And it was horrible.
Describe that to the sketch artist.
Yeah. We didn't quite get it in the sketch, the horrifying attitude of the tattoo, but it terrified you just to see the tattoo.
And that was on the left.
On the left forearm. Yeah. It was big.
Did he have any other tattoos?
He had some other markings on his hands.
Right hand?
Smaller stuff, but I couldn't tell what those were.
Was it on both hands or just?
I couldn't tell. I know he had something on his right hand. There was some other marks there, but I couldn't tell what they were.
Was he wearing glasses or anything?
Nope, no glasses.
What about jewelry? Earrings?
I didn't notice any. There was no earrings, no necklace. I didn't see a watch. He had on short sleeves. He had on black tennis shoes.
What about his T-shirt? What color was it?
I can't recall his shirt or his pants.
But you said that you thought the shirt was a T-shirt.
Trying to remember what he had on. I didn't notice it. It was a short sleeve shirt. I do remember that because I could see his arms. I could see his arms, and he didn't have his sleeves rolled up or anything.
Did he have a dirty appearance about him?
Nope, he didn't really have a dirty, stringy, sleeping on the road all the time appearance. He told me that he had spent the night out, slept in a field on the freeway the other side of the I-40 dirt track there at Benton. And he said he got well off the freeway so nobody would see him, and he spent the night out there. But he didn't ask for money or food or anything. Normally a hitchhiker that needs money, he'll say, hey, how about buying me lunch or something? And I offered to take him, across the freeway there, but he didn't want to go over there. He wanted to go specifically to the south side of the freeway, and he wanted off right at this one place.
Where did you let him off at?
You got a buzz there. Does that mean the tape needs to be turned or something?
I think that may have been the phone or something.
Okay. There's a truck stop as you come into West Memphis, or it's a convenience store gas station is what it is.
Okay.
And that convenience store has got new gas pumps. Instead of being parallel to the freeway, you know how you would drive off the freeway and drive into a pump parallel?
Uh-huh.
These are different. They're perpendicular, and there must be 7 or 8 of them in a line. They're perpendicular right up next to the edge of the freeway. So when you come off, you barely got room to make the turn, and you're pointing at the convenience store when you pull in these pumps. It's a weird setup. Yeah.
Let's see. That's right as you go into West Memphis?
Yes. And I don't remember if it was after the Y or before the Y, but I could show you the place if I was over there. But you can tell where it is by those gas pumps. The gas pumps were perpendicular to the freeway rather than being parallel. It's right on the right side of the freeway.
Is there anything else around there? Around the stop?
Yeah, the dog track's on the other side.
Okay, so it's right there in front of the dog track?
Right in that area.
About what time was that Wednesday?
I must have let him off about, well, it takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes to get to Memphis. and I know I left about 1 or 1:30, so I'd say about 3:30, somewhere right in there.
Did you say how long he'd been in Little Rock?
A couple of days, several days. See, first he told me he'd only been here a few days, and then we started talking, and I was asking him about did he like to fish and stuff like that. Have you ever been trout fishing and shooting the breeze? And he said, no, I don't like to fish, but I drive hot cars a lot. And I said, well, I'm working on a Z28 now, working on the motor. It's got 350 and all that bullshit. And he said, well, I drive down to Benton all the time. And that didn't make any sense because he's supposed to just been here a couple of days looking for a job. And but he knew the Benton Speedboat, and he said he drives down here like he's familiar with the track and automobiles. He's in the automobile business of some kind because he understands cars, and he talked a lot about hot motors and working on motors and stuff like that. So this guy is probably in some sort of automobile or repair, body shop, something like that.
So he sounded pretty knowledgeable.
Sounded very knowledgeable about cars. I mean, he knew cam durations and stuff like that most people don't normally know if you're a damn tree trimmer. You know what I mean?
Sound like a man being more or less a mechanic.
He's a mechanic or repair guy or something, body shop or something. Most tree trimmers don't have that kind of knowledge or ability. They're tree trimmer.
Did you say where he'd been before he arrived in Little Rock?
He said he'd been in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where his folks lived, he said, or where he lived. And he was going back home because he was broke.
Did he say how he got down here?
Didn't say how he got down here. He didn't tell me his name. I kept asking him, what's your name anyway? And he changed the subject. He wouldn't tell me his name.
Did he say who he was with when he was going back?
He just said the people he was with. It wasn't like he could call a ride. He said the people I was with was the statement he made. And he said they were just too crazy. And they was getting out of the car.
They stole some gas.
They stole some gas at an exit. But he did say that they were drunk and they were using drugs too, and he didn't want to get busted along with them for stealing gas.
Why did you let him out at Hazen? At West Memphis. Is that where you took another exit? Or?
No, I told him that I'm going on around I-55, the loop on Memphis, and taking 78 south to Tupelo to go to Columbus. And I said, I can get you on the other side of Memphis at a truck stop, and you have a straight shot on into Knoxville. And he said, yeah, but I need to get off right here. I need to get off up here. He showed me exactly where he wanted to get off.
He didn't say why.
He didn't say why. I got the impression he was going to meet someone or something, but he was going there. And I said, well, I got to get some oil, but I'm going to swing over the other side. Do you want me to go over here where you can get something to eat at one of these McDonald's or this big truck stop Scott on the north side? He said, no, I want to go over there to that place right down there on the right.
What was he pointing at?
He was pointing at this particular convenience store.
Okay.
I mean, he was going to this place.
And that's one you described earlier.
Yes.
Okay.
And I got off the exit and rode for a while down the exit ramp, and he said, yeah, there's a place right up here on the right that I want to go to. That's where he was going. But they didn't have a Western Union or nothing like that there, And they did have over to truck stop on the north side, but he wanted to go to the south side of the freeway.
Would you just drop him off there and then leave?
Dropped him off and left, and I asked him, you sure you don't want to go over here when you get something to eat? And he said, no, this right here is where I'm going to go over here. So, but the tone of his conversation from the time he got in the truck, this guy was wired. I mean, he was angry. He was angry. I mean,
you know what he was angry at?
He was just angry. Some people they're just anger is flowing out of them. This guy was angry. He's fully capable of doing something like that.
Did you ever notice knife on him or anything?
I didn't see any weapons. I didn't see any weapons, but he couldn't sit still in the chair. In the truck, he was just. I guess a good way to describe him was. Hell, he just was angry. I mean, and he was that way when he got in the truck. He was on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, and I mean, when he got in the truck, he was just. I said, well, how'd you get way the hell out here? And he said, he was just cussing these people that he was with, and he was just angry. He didn't give you the normal hitchhiker or destitute.
He didn't appear to be a transit or somebody been sleeping out.
He did have this pillowcase full of stuff, but he did not either smell or act like a transient, you know. I mean, he had a little bit of odor from being on the road, but not like you would have. You know, some transients, you got to roll the window down if they've been sleeping out 2 or 3 nights.
Did he say he actually lived in Knoxville?
Yeah.
Where he was from?
But that's not where he wanted to go. I mean, if he would have wanted to go on around Memphis and get out on a truck stop on the other side of town where he had a straight shot in. That would have been the logical thing for him to do.
That's where he said he was trying to get back to, was Knoxville.
Yeah.
Did he say he had family there, or
Said he had family there. Yeah, sure did.
he said what kind of work he did there? I guess tree trimmer there too.
Tree trimmer there too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said he was a tree trimmer, and like I say, the only reason that I thought he was suspicious was these hideous tattoos of this devil worshiping crap that he had on his arms, and his attitude of anger, and this. I mean, he didn't say anything that would lead me to believe he was going to commit some sort of crime like that. But this anger was there. He did have this, he was visibly.
Let me go back just briefly about his face. You said his cheekbones were protruding.
Yeah, he was very thin, and you could see the lines of his bottoms of his chin and his sunken jaw, you know. I mean, he was very thin. His mouth was real tight, and he kept playing with his mouth like he was tight-lipped. I don't know what his drawings are. Real tight-lipped, like he had his tongue. He was sucking on a sunflower seed or something like that. But he was just the way he held his mouth, you know, like that.
What about his
like that all the time?
face? Any scars or marks?
Didn't see any
acne?
No, he had fairly good, hell of a lot better complexion than I got. But he had freckles. You know, he was typical.
How many freckles?
Light. No, not heavy, just light. He was very light complected. He did not have a dark tan like you would think of a tree trimmer should have. You know, and I didn't get a real good look at his hands. You know, but he was in good physical condition. He was thin. Real good physical condition.
And let's say today you contacted someone here at the police department.
Yeah. Well, what I did, I contacted the West Memphis Sheriff, the Brittany County Sheriff's Office, and they told me to call this city guy in West Memphis that was to coordinate. So I called him, and I just told him I picked up a hitchhiker and gave a general description, you know, and all that. And then he called these guys and told them he wanted drawing sketches. So that's when I came down here. They asked me to come down and do the artist thing, and that's when I came down. But that's about it. I mean, I don't know anything else about him, but I could pick his face out in a million. I mean, I remember it distinctly. The only things that I think were significant about it was his conversation didn't lead me to believe that he lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. He led me to believe, because he said he drove at the speedboat, that he lives in southwest Little Rock. That was the conversation I got. I don't think he was a tree trimmer. I've been around tree trimmers. I know tree trimmers. They don't. These guys are, IQ of 20, and they have cauliflower hands. I mean, their hands might feel like a foot when you shake hands with them. And he was not that kind of tree trimmer. You know, he was real knowledgeable about cars. I don't know what this problem with his personality was, but this anger was obvious as soon as he got in the vehicle. He was angry. You know, that's why I kept looking at him just to keep an eye on him. These tattoos really catch your attention. But that's all I can really tell you about him. If he's the one that did it, you ought to be able to figure it out real quick. If there's any hair samples, if he's got red or blonde hair, I mean, at the scene, that's your boy. Because if he did go back to the park over there somewhere to clean up, or these kids went to that convenience store, and he followed them over there, he could have done it just because of this anger that he had. But he was definitely hitchhiking. He was on the road. Unless he was meeting somebody else, and this was a planned deal. Yeah, I'd hate to think that they would plan to do something like this deliberately. A bunch of devil worshippers. But it is unusual. The tattoos that he had are not normal. They're not something you see on people, even people that wear tattoos. Those kind of blood and bones, I've never seen a blood and bones tattoo that I remember. I've seen some crossbones and skulls and things like that, Motorcycle riders, I've never seen anything like a single bone with blood in the background. I've never seen a tattoo like that. And I've seen devil tattoos, but never one as hideous as the one that he had, with the devil left with his claws on his haunches. I've never seen one like that on anybody. That's why it caught my attention. But other than that, he was not drunk. He had not been drinking. Like most transients you pick up, they smell like wine, or they've been drinking for 3 days or something. He no smell of alcohol at all. He was sober. That's all the rest I can tell you about him.
Everything like that. This concludes the interview at 18:24.